So the federal farm bill made hemp legal across America, but lately there's been lots of debate as lawmakers try to close that THCA loophole that it created. We've seen different senators speak on this very topic, and in today's show we're going to hear what they have to say, as well as Minnesota, who recently legalized and finally disposed of opening, but there's a catch because they have nothing to sell yet.
After years of red tape and waiting, Minnesota's first group of cannabis businesses have been quietly getting their licenses approved in recent days. That includes the first shop in the Twin Cities. I say quietly because Kent went there today and he didn't find any long lines or fanfare because he didn't find any cannabis either.
Well, the race to be the state's first licensed cannabis retailer should cross the finish line this week one way or another.
So the shops are in Duluth and Albert Lea, but here's the catch. They do not have the supply just yet. So Fox 9's Corin Hoggard is live in Minneapolis at the sister store of the Duluth retailer. Corin, it may not be a surprise. We've been talking about this, but the bottom line is that these shops cannot sell yet.
No, Kelsey and Simone, the supply just isn't there right now. Really, the advocates for cannabis had asked the state to let cultivators start a little bit before the rest of the market. That never happened, and so here we are with the cultivators getting in line with everybody else. Now, the Office of Cannabis Management has actually issued 4 licenses with retail endorsements, but anybody who wants to sell retail really only has one place to go to buy legal weed.
So yeah, just a little bit of demo, going on here. This will be a big mural on this wall.
The shelves and even the walls are still empty at Josh Wilkins Simon's Lynn Lake location. He's hoping to open here around October and in Woodbury in a couple weeks. But he's also consulting on his brother's Duluth retail shop, which may be the first to open under a state license.
I expect that as one of the first statewide dispensaries open in Minnesota, that there's going to be long lines and crowds.
The store got zoning approval, passed a state inspection, and got its retail registration from Duluth. What it hasn't gotten, though, is cannabis to sell. The state has recently licensed 5 cultivators, but retailers are not expecting to buy from those businesses until this winter or later. Tribes had a head start of up to 2 years, but for now, only White Earth Nation has a compact with the state, allowing them to wholesale cannabis.
So you guys can see how strange of a position some of these business owners find themselves in. The laws have been rolled out, but they have nothing to sell yet. And that goes straight back to the fact that some of these lawmakers are so out of touch with the good herb that they didn't even think that they need to have the cultivation take place beforehand so that when the actual licenses roll out and the market opens, you can have stuff ready. But now instead we're in a situation where the market's open, the licenses have been rolled out, but nothing can be sold because no one has any product yet. And it doesn't look like they're going to have any product for at least a few months, because guess what? Those plants have to grow, right? Now you guys may have heard in that clip where they said tribes had a head start, and that's pretty interesting because a lot of these tribal lands and folks who operate on the res, they actually operate under different rules from the rest of the state. And that's something we broke down in a previous video, so definitely check that out. And that in fact lines up perfectly with this article that we see right here, which says that Minnesota's recreational market finally launches with the first sales at non-tribal dispensaries. Because a lot of those folks on the res in tons of different states, they already have their stuff set up.
Minnesotans can now legally buy marijuana just an hour northwest of the Twin Cities.
White Earth Nation just opened a new shop in St. Cloud today. As WCCO's Jason Randall shows us, customers are buzzing with excitement.
I'm very happy, very happy.
This new cannabis dispensary in a sizable Minnesota city was met with sizable crowds.
It's been busy. We had a line around the block to start.
And plenty of anticipation Wednesday.
I'm very excited. This has been needed for a long time.
It's been almost 2 years since pot became legal in Minnesota. Selling it, on the other hand,
let's go. Like, why is this taking so long?
has been another story.
Me too, through all the red tape and through legislation.
I'm just excited that it's here. I'm excited that adult use is finally available to the customers, available to the community.
This dispensary can be here in St. Cloud because Governor Tim Walz signed a tribal state compact back in May, allowing White Earth Nation to sell cannabis off tribal lands. It's their second such cannabis dispensary, the first being Moorhead. Employees say St. Cloud was chosen for its central location.
And I'm a medical professional, so I've been an advocate for this for a long time.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it'll help people out, man, especially the vets and other people, maybe get them off that hard stuff.
Product safety testing is the same here as state licensed businesses.
Dealing with anxiety, with depression, with other behavioral health, mental health, problems or issues.
The chairman of White Earth Nation says they grow their product up in Mahnomen, and they are ready to keep up with demand with the half dozen more locations to come.
It means that people are going to have what they need. I mean, medical marijuana and marijuana in general is a beautiful thing for people to be able to utilize.
So you guys can see just how strange the law can operate at times. Minnesota rolled out rec a few years back, but it's only a couple months ago that they finally got some of these sales started. And it's actually pretty interesting that the state of Minnesota is partnering with White Earth Nation to roll out some of these sales. Now, something else that we've seen recently is that President Trump's comments on rescheduling are making more lawmakers pay attention to the issue, and this is according to a Democratic congresswoman over in Minnesota. And personally, I think that this may be a good thing that more lawmakers are actually taking notice of an issue which is long overdue. Now, despite what you may think about this congresswoman, recently in an interview, Representative Ilhan Omar, co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus, also reacted to the launch of non-tribal adult use sales in her home state of Minnesota. Now, this is the important part, because when asked about the current status of policy talks on Capitol Hill, Omar said that there have been more conversations as Trump raised rescheduling, and according to her, it seems like he's hinted at rescheduling, which is kind of a positive step. Now, amid all the talks of rescheduling, there's been lots of concern and a lot of discussion that the Trump administration may move to cancel the pending marijuana and hemp rules. And that's exactly what it says in this article right here, which is dated September 10th. And also over here, according to this article, which says pending federal hemp legislation could reshape the legal industry by banning some products. So what I decided to do was have a little bit of a closer look to see what's happening and where we're currently at. And obviously, with the Farm Bill being a topic of discussion, there were a lot of proposals which will actually close that THCA loophole and also potentially ban a lot of hemp products that contain any forms of THC. Have a look.
Federal bill that, if passed, would ban all hemp products with THC in it. 6 News reporter Taryn Simmons is here for you now. She spoke to a few marijuana business owners here locally on how the bill could impact Michigan's industry. Good evening, Taryn.
Jerome, in Washington, D.C., a Republican-led House committee approved a budget bill that could ban all hemp products with THC nationwide. One marijuana expert I spoke to says the bill would do minimal damage for her store, but says there's still a concern. Officials say a goal of the bill would be to close the loophole that they say has led to an amount of unregulated intoxicating hemp products like Delta 8 and hemp flower. Evie Hernandez, general manager at the Cake in Lansing, says her store doesn't carry many hemp products with THC.
The products that we carry are, the good ones, the ones that you are actually going to help you, that are really medicinal based.
So if the bill were to pass, she says the impact would be minimal. The language used in the bill seems to target mainly products that are sold online or at gas stations.
I've seen them pretty much everywhere, sadly, with no age checks, no lab testing, and packaging that looks like candy, so it's really on the market for everybody because you can't really tell the difference. They mass produce unregulated knockoff, so it can hurt the consumer more than help them.
Those are all points which we've been hearing for quite some time now. A lot of people say that they need to protect the kids, keep these out of the hands of children, and avoid them being sold without IDs at places like gas stations and corner stores. But that being said, if you were to ban everything, the hemp industry will be decimated, and tons of folks who actually use these products for relief will no longer be able to access those products, and obviously that'll impact them negatively. Now, traditionally you will associate Republicans and conservatives with being against the good herb, but what we've been seeing is that a lot of these GOP senators are actually taking an opposite stance and saying that Congress needs to step up and regulate the good herb while exploring its efficacy for PTSD and pain. And what they're doing is recognizing the fact that these plants have medical benefits, and those medical benefits should be available to the people. And that's exactly what Senator Tom Till said during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on Wednesday, so let's hear what he had to say.
Senator Booker, your points on cannabis, I think, are very well taken. And in many respects, I think Congress is not doing its job by recognizing that that bell has been rung. And unless we get serious about regulatory regimens and other, we've talked about the fentanyl crisis now. We all know that at some point in the race for potency, then these products that are being purchased technically illegally in 40 different states, either for medical purposes or several dozen for recreational purposes. Congress needs to step up and try to figure out how we can manage this, exploit its efficacy in areas that are helpful, particularly for the treatment of persons with PTSD, a number of other studies out there, pain. But we've got to step up. And I appreciate you making those comments. And in my remaining time here, hopefully we can get something done. Well, this is going to conclude our hearing today.
So that was really refreshing to see. And the fact that some of these Republican lawmakers are actually getting on board with legalization and just the good herb in general, I think that that's fantastic, but it's also absolutely necessary. Now I'm going to show you guys another lawmaker who had some really positive things to say, but did voice concern over what could happen over the next 2 weeks. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans.
Senator Mitch McConnell wants to close a loophole created in the 2018 Farm Bill that legalized hemp farming. That's because the loophole allows the sale of intoxicating THC products like Delta-8 that feel like cannabis.
But as our Ian Hardwood reports, closing that loophole could have unintended consequences for non-intoxicating CBD products.
Senator Mitch McConnell pushed for the bill effectively reviving hemp farming across America.
It has allowed for intoxicating hemp-derived synthetic products to be made and sold across our country.
Under a bill that advanced out of the Senate Appropriations Committee, McConnell wants the FDA to set a limit on how much THC ends up in the final CBD product. That's to prevent products like Delta-8 from being sold, which functions similar to cannabis.
And often use deceptive and predatory marketing towards children.
Senator Mitch McConnell is actually someone who advocated for the Farm Bill back in 2018. But turns out, as we all know, a lot of these lawmakers are not familiar with the plant and have no idea what they're making these laws on. So once that loophole became exploited, it turns out that now he wants to close the loophole. And he actually proposed some language which will ban all forms of hemp. Now thankfully, Senator Rand Paul, Republican, actually stood up for the good herb, and eventually McConnell stripped that hemp banning language from the bill. Check it out.
Senator Mitch McConnell says he's backing off his fight to close the 2018 loophole that legalized hemp for now. McConnell recently included language in a Senate Agriculture Appropriations bill that he says would have kept bad actors from exploiting the 2018 Farm Bill to create intoxicating products with federally legal levels of THC. Kentucky's other U.S. Senator Rand Paul is reportedly against banning ingestible hemp products containing THC. Speaking on the Senate floor today, Senator McConnell said he allowed his language to be stripped from the bill so that it can move forward, adding his efforts to protect children and support farmers will continue.
So thankfully that was a little bit of a win, but it's not all over yet, because according to Senator Rand Paul, there are actually concerns that hemp could still be banned over the next 2 weeks, as it seems that the debate has swung hard to the prohibitionist side. Now, Senator Rand Paul sat down with Shah Dills of the Dills Report and had a conversation on this very topic, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what he had to say, so let's check it out.
Senator Rand Paul, and get straight into the conversation. Good day, Senator. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Listen, let's begin. I know our audience, they follow both the cannabis and hemp industries very closely. Like on one side, you have the licensed cannabis operators who see some bad actors in hemp exploiting loopholes and undercutting regulated operators. Then you have hemp farmers who say these products are their livelihood. So everyone agrees there needs to be some form of regulation, but the fight in Washington, as we know, it's whether that means sensible oversight or an outright ban. So how do you make the case that hemp products can be regulated responsibly without eliminating them altogether? Because I know this is a big topic right now.
Well, what you have is people like Senator McConnell, Gavin Newsom, who are putting forth and showing all these things that look like candy that have very high doses of mostly Delta-8 THC. And so these products, most people in the hemp industry aren't making them, but some people must be making them. The complaint is that they're being sold to underage people with very high doses, much different than what the rest of the hemp industry is doing. And so they say, well, we want to control this. We don't want this to be sold to kids. So instead of having an age regulation or having some sensible regulation, they've written language that we think would kill the industry completely. The initial language was that the definition for hemp would not include quantifiable amounts of THC. Well, we're not sure exactly what that means, but when they say that the definition does not include quantifiable amounts, it sounds like it could be negligible, zero, nominal, and we worry that that would destroy the industry. If they change the definition for the plant, all the plants have been adapted and modulated to grow at the 0.3% level. All of that would have to change over time. So we think there needs to be slow down, put the brakes on things. Our best hope is that nothing happens in the next couple of weeks.
So Senator Rand Paul says it there perfectly, and that's something that I agree with wholeheartedly. Regulation is far better than a ban, but he also raises a great point. A lot of these bad actors are exploiting the loophole, but also exploiting synthetic cannabinoids such as Delta-8. And if we're being real, I think a lot of people who are out there do not want any synthetics. They're not fans of any of that Delta-8 stuff. They only want the Delta-9, which is the real stuff. So you guys can do some research on the difference between Delta-8 and Delta-9. Now, Senator Rand Paul was also asked about the future of hemp and the high potency regulations that a lot of these lawmakers do want to put in place. So let's listen to what he had to say about that.
Absolutely. So under your bill, or under the way that you see the hemp industry evolving into the future, I mean, do you see things such as THCA flower and such as these high potency synthetics being regulated out, and the hemp industry really just becoming a low dose THC product industry like it was intended for those, let's say, edibles, beverages, etc.? Because when you do get into the THCA flower, you are getting a legal product, whether it's coming from Mexico, whether it's coming from California, that is penetrating those channels. We've had investigative journalists and people actually go to hemp stores and hemp smoke shops from coast to coast, whether it was Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas, and the product that they are saying that they're selling, which is THCA flower, by definition with low dose THC, is actually not that product. It's high dose THC that is also not passing testing requirements with mycotoxins, pesticides, and it is creating a public safety issue under the guise of the hemp industry.
I think it's unknown what's going to happen yet. The main concern I have is that in the next 2 weeks, I don't want language to pass that completely eliminates the hemp industry. I think that's a big mistake. It's not fair. It's not right. And it will hurt some people just in the farming aspect. I've got a farming family in Northern Kentucky that does this, makes a good living doing it. They've invested a lot of time and energy in growing hemp, and I don't want to put them out of business. I've got people who grow hemp not for consumables or edibles. I have people who grow hemp also just for wood, for hemp wood. And so the whole industry could be destroyed by this language saying that you can only have small quantifiable amounts and that the secretary is going to decide what these are. If the secretary of, I guess I don't know if it's FDA or agriculture, whoever it is, makes this determination and they're a prohibitionist, all of a sudden we have no more hemp industry.
Right.
So I think we have to be very careful. I think that if the logical way would be go from testing the plant to testing what has been being eaten. The best analogy I got was actually from another senator from a big corn farm state. And he said, well, it kind of makes sense. We don't regulate the corn for alcohol. We regulate the alcohol. We don't say how much ethanol can you get out of corn. We say, when you mix it up and distill it, you can make alcohol anything. So they actually make alcohol very potent, and then they sort of dilute alcohol to the level that people want to consume it at. And there are regulations on alcohol, but there's not really any regulations on turning corn into alcohol.
And isn't that really interesting, guys? You guys can see how the industry is regulated so much differently to other agricultural industries, which is absolutely mind-blowing, especially considering that example, which was based on alcohol. Now, that being said, Senator Rand Paul and Senator Mitch McConnell were sort of sparring, going back and forth for a while on the language as they were trying to determine whether to ban or to regulate the industry. And Senator Rand Paul was actually asked about that and whether they're going to get into it again. And let's hear what he had to say about that.
Do you have ongoing conversations with Senator McConnell? Because right now, when I see this on paper, two wrongs don't make a right. And it looks like the Farm Bill originally, when this was crafted together back in 2018, that there wasn't the proper due diligence that created this loophole. Now we could be on the verge of doing the same mistake over again. Like, are you surprised at all of his stance on this approach, considering the fact that he was the major focal point of getting this Farm Bill passed 7 years ago?
We've been working diligently with his staff, my staff, his staff, with Andy Harris's staff, who's a big player in this in the House, and trying to reach a compromise. A lot of the conversations have been constructive. They say, at least on the surface, they're not trying to eliminate it. But I think we are some ways talking past each other. So they pile up all this candy that looks like Skittles, and it has names that look like Skittles and other candies that are out there. They're actually probably ripping off copyright and trademark. They probably could be sued for that alone. But then it has very high doses, much higher than, many of the hemp products might have 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams of Delta 8 in it. This might have a gummy that has 100 milligrams in a gummy, so it's like the package might have 500 milligrams, which, I'm not an expert in that, but talking to people sounds like that's a lot. And,
it is.
So I think that something has to happen, but it's a matter of people not reacting in an emotional way and eliminating an entire industry. I think if they would sit down and listen to people, I think we could get somewhere. But I still am very fearful that the whole industry could be made illegal within the next 2 weeks. So people who are interested in this need to be calling their senators and congressmen and saying, look, there's no reason to make something like this illegal. And can't we figure out a way to regulate it without prohibiting it?
Wow. So you think the next 2 weeks, that's a real possibility?
There's maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, but it could happen with the spending bill that's happening in the next week.
Okay.
But it also could happen in a conference committee report where it's coming together. And the same way people lobby me, I have to lobby those members. I won't be on the conference committee. I'm not on those spending committees that are making these decisions. So I spend a lot of my time lobbying them to try to make sure we don't make a mistake here. But if you follow legislation, the history of legislation is mistake after mistake.
Yeah.
People get in a rush. I would prefer that we do nothing for now and send this back to committee and study it for a year and not be too rash so we don't ruin the industry.
A lot of you guys have praised the Farm Bill, praised the Hemp Bill, and those loopholes could potentially be closed over the next few weeks depending on how some of these things turn out. So you guys need to stay updated, stay subscribed to the Legal News Network. We'll keep you guys updated with all that, but I want to find out what you guys think about everything that we discussed in today's video. What do you guys think about Minnesota finally rolling out legal sales, but also what do you guys think about some of these lawmakers trying to close the THCA loophole that's in that federal Farm Bill that's been law since 2018? Drop it in the comments down below and let me know. Now, something which you guys may have missed is a pretty interesting video which we did recently where we covered the top 5 most weed-friendly states in America. So if you haven't seen it, check that video out because it's coming up right now.